afternoon, good morning, good night to all our peeps. Thank y'all so much for coming back. It's been a while. We're back with Pastor Mike, with Pastor D. We heard your requests. We saw your inbox messages. Hey, we're going to be doing another podcast where we're back. So I'm here, Pastor D, and with
Mika G, it's been a while. Good to see you all. Thanks for all our followers. Y'all are so phenomenal. Being out, people saying, "Well, where y'all at? I've been looking for the episode. Did I miss the episode?" So we took a little break. We're gonna dive into that today, but we are glad to be back. God is good. We're glad to be back.
y'all. We missed y'all just as much as y'all missed us. Trust me
Absolutely.
and believe. But we are back, and we have a new episode for y'all today. Mika G, come on, drop the new episode. What is the new episode
All
today?
right, so our new episode for today is keeping our mental health. So if you've been watching, we tapped into some of this on our previous episodes, and we noticed that this will need an episode just all by itself. It may even go to a part two today. We don't know, but just we're gonna dive into it today.
Cool. So we talk about mental health, and you've been transparent so many times about yours, but not everybody is always transparent.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, they're just not transparent. Whether they're just ashamed that they're going through what they're going through, or maybe they feel like people don't understand them if they happen to share some of their mental health challenges.
Yeah.
So tell me something. So how do we roll into this trusting or talking? What was the title again?
Keeping our mental health.
Keeping our mental. So how do we jump into this keeping our mental health? What's some of your thoughts?
Well, some of my thoughts are, first of all, you have to know the importance of it. And so that's a big self awareness piece. And yeah, I've talked about mine. So, you guys know that I am also pro Jesus, but I'm pro therapy too. So, so I've talked about my journey starting therapy back in 2021. Initially starting off like 2 times a week, then decreasing to weekly, then the monthly, the quarterly, every other quarter, however you need. But that you can also trust in the Lord, but you also trust in the fact that He's made an avenue for you to have a therapist.
Right. So when we have some challenges with our body, like our weight, right? Yeah, we go to the Bible and says that we should train our bodies like an athlete, but we also go to a real live trainer.
Absolutely.
When we have health issues in our body, yes, the Bible says we are healed by Jesus' stripes and all these other healing scriptures, but yet we still go see a doctor.
Absolutely.
So why is it then it's such a challenge for us when we're struggling with our mental issues, our mental challenges? Why is it so hard for us then not to go see a therapist to help us in that area? If we can choose it for the other areas, what makes mental health so taboo or so hard for us to go see a therapist?
Well, unfortunately, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. We had the opportunity, our pastor is the bomb. I'm not just saying this because we go, I'm a member of Victory, but
Say that again.
our
Say that.
pastor is the bomb. But we had the opportunity to have a mental health awareness training course here at the church, and it was really, really dope. Perhaps the most dopest aspect about it, though, is the person who actually led the class could relate because he had his own mental health challenges. So it also allowed you to see that you can operate in getting over a challenge and then still help others and then be relatable to know what we're going through. So one of the things we're talking about with the stigmas, especially in our community, that's attached to when you want to seek therapy. Are you crazy? Won't you just pray about it? Just pray about it.
Yeah.
Well, why are you seeing a therapist for? Ain't nothing wrong with you. You hear all those different type of things. So that negative stigma, I think, is a lot of the challenge of why people won't do so. And then not having a space. And we are also diving into creating more safe spaces where people can talk about the trauma instead of covering the trauma. So like the Den, another plug.
Yeah.
If you have a middle or high schooler, we do the Den once a month. They can come out 7 p.m. and just have a safe space to just kick it. but we're not creating enough spaces and making it easy conversation to have. So with that being said, I've been transparent.
Yeah.
And let's clear up everything because us living in Elizabeth City.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
To put it nicely, words can be put together. I heard that he was so to clear all of this. You decided to take a break for yourself over the summer,
Yeah.
and I was hoping that you would want to share with our viewers what that was like for you, what it was about, that whole piece.
Yeah. So that was a just keeping it real. That moment was probably one of the lowest places in my life. Um, it was almost like I hit a brick wall. I went forward, or tried to go forward, couldn't go forward. Tried to go left, couldn't go left. Tried to go right, couldn't go right. Obviously, I didn't want to go back because back is where the trauma was.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at a place where, like, I had no clue of what to do. And not to the place of wanting to end my life, but at a place where I just needed silence. I didn't need any noise from church. I didn't want any noise from the community. I didn't want noise from the family. And that was hard because I am a family guy. I am a community guy. I am a church guy. So, but I needed that space. I needed a space where God and I could just, He and I could just meet, talk, and He could just help me heal. Because I didn't realize, like probably a lot of people, I didn't realize how damaged I was, how hurt I was. And it stemmed from, obviously, from some series of deaths that happened in my family. And then with that, on top of just trying to balance life, it just got overwhelming. Did some studying, Mika, and I realized that it said over 65% of churchgoers want their pastor to talk about mental health. But the challenge, they won't, that 65% of the churchgoers say that, but the challenge is pastors don't want to talk about it because they don't want to expose themselves.
Absolutely.
1 in 5 pastors struggle with depression. Get that. 1 in 5 pastors struggles with depression. So just look in your community and count 5 churches and think, man, my pastor could be one of those 5 pastors struggling with depression. And he hasn't been comfortable enough, or she hasn't been comfortable enough to talk about it simply because of what you alluded to earlier. The stigmatism that go with that. If I'm a believer, then I'm supposed to just pray about it and let God handle it. Take all my cares to the Lord and leave them there. And that's cool, but you get to a point where you've done that and you're alone and you're broken and you don't know where to go. And then you get to a place where I was, and it just was not a good place because I just left. That morning, I got up, decided that I'm tired, I'm done with all of this, left a note for my wife, obviously left a letter to the church, left a letter to the board, and just said, I'm out. No explanations, no nothing. So that's what I thought I needed at the moment, which I did need the break. How I did it was not good, but I learned from that point on, I should not allow life to have that much control over my mind. And when I did that, I came back, and for the advice of my wife, I picked up a therapist. And since then, that's been, I don't know how long it's been, probably 2 months now. I've been seeing a therapist. Not that I'm crazy, like people say.
Yeah, yeah.
You crazy. You go see a therapist. You crazy.
Yeah.
No, not that I'm crazy. It's that I'm smart. And I wish I was smarter earlier. So those of you who are out there who are struggling with some mental health issues or mental health challenges, please don't think you're crazy by trying to see a therapist. Matter of fact, you're smart because you're realizing that you need some help going through or processing through what's going on in your head. So as strong, and the challenge I want, the biggest challenge for me was, and I don't know who this is going to minister to today, but Shamika, I've always been able to fix every situation. I've always been able to fix every situation, and this situation I couldn't fix. And it was a tough spot. But I thank God through therapy and through prayer still, because I did not give up on God, did not give up on the prayer. I'm in a better place. I'm at a much, much better place. And I pray now that some of the stuff I went through, the challenge I went through, people will see that and see that, man, if a pastor can go see a therapist and he's still good, then maybe I can too. So yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. So it was a tough moment, but I processed through it, and I'm still processing through it. So yeah.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. So, I'm also in hearing what you're saying. There was like a split second where you felt as if I'm just gonna have to choose me. Like right now today, I'm just gonna have to choose me. And you also said that you didn't realize how truly damaged that you were.
Yep.
So I think a lot of us go through things and walk around with them and think that it's normal that this has happened to me or whatever. So I'm gonna just go on and try to balance it. And it can be tough to say, well, at this moment, I need a break. It just needs to be me and him right now. So what can you say to the person that needs assistance in making that decision? Like what can help them get to the point where they have to really choose them?
So I guess what happened to me when I made that decision to just walk, leave, go, I realized at that point that I needed it, but how I did it was not good. I think I said that. So what my plan is now is I'm going to intentionally set time aside every year for a pause, for a break, for a Selah. Intentionally, whether it be a week, 2 days, a day, I'm going to intentionally pause and just decompress. Because I was walking around thinking I was helping somebody else, but probably I was spilling out my damage on somebody else as well. And by the way, continually internally damaging myself. So you got to think when we're going through this, and here's the thing. It's almost like a light bulb popped on. You know what I mean? You hear people talk about mental health. You're like, yeah, that's just, yeah. And because you've never gone through it yourself.
Yeah.
And once we've gone through this and you experience some mental health challenges, and mine was depression. Mine was depression from bereavement. And it could stem from anything, but you just got to first realize, okay, here's an issue, and I have to move forward and try to figure it out. But what I did was, now I'm going to intentionally put a pause on life. I'm going to realize what's important, what's not as important, and we're going to move forward with it. Like stepping away from the board. I really, really miss being on the Board of Education. But I realized that was an area that was pulling some time away, that I need to take that portion of time, and apply it to me.
Gotcha.
To get me healthy from that.
So
And,
that's big because in your role in leadership, you're always listening to other people's problems and situations. So what I'm hearing you say, and which was one of our hot points, was the self-awareness piece. Becoming aware of yourself, what you're feeling, knowing when to take a break, knowing when to step back, balance, making sure that you're also showing up for your family, as you're showing up in the church, as you're showing up on the school board. And I don't want us to feel like, because some of us have been multifaceted with many gifts. And one of the points that in my devotion that I learned is, like, I don't think particularly It's the load that we're carrying. It's the way that we're carrying it.
Absolutely.
So he's giving you the ability to get into all of these rooms and to operate in these different gifts. But if you're not balancing it, it becomes a problem. So in order for us to be impactful to those around us, it is highly important that we are self-aware. And then knowing where to get help from.
Yeah.
Like who's in your proximity.
Yeah.
It's okay to love on the gang, but are you joining the gang? Are you really choosing you? Or do you have people that'll pray for you?
Yep.
Genuine people that'll support you and let you be you, as you are transparent, come to them and be like, look, I need a break.
Yeah.
And that'll hear you and be like, I got you, step back. So that's important too, who's around you.
Um, the load. It's not about the load you carry; it's how you carry the load.
Mm-hmm.
When I was studying for the podcast and just thinking about stuff, I got a scripture, Matthew 11, verses 28 to 29.
Mm-hmm.
We've heard it before, but I want us to hear it now and put it in the perspective of mental health and, as you just stated, how we're carrying some stuff
Mm-hmm.
and how we carry it. It says, then Jesus said, come to me, all you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart. And you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give you is light. So that goes back to, like, we don't want to negate how God helps us in these areas.
Absolutely.
Like I mentioned earlier about having a therapist, but we cannot forget who God is.
Absolutely.
And we should take our cares and our burdens to Him first, but also having a therapist, but truly understanding when I took that break was not from God. And sometimes some of us who struggle with mental health challenges,
That's good.
we take a break from God.
That's good. That's good.
And that is not the place to take your break from.
No, that's where you need to draw close.
That's where you need to draw
Absolutely.
closer and give Him that. So then when you take your cares and your burdens to Him, He says, I'm going to take those, I'm going to give you something else. Then He sends you the therapist who's going to help carry the load.
Yeah. That's the building block. So the parallel on what you said. So earlier this year, because I'm big on mental health, especially since this year has rolled in, I would like to call it now an opportunity where I had a 30-day span where it was just him and I, and it was just him and I. Granted, I had the therapy, along with that, but the moments that I shared there with actually doing the work there, because I don't want y'all to get it twisted. I believe in therapy, but he utmost is who I believe in first. And that 30 days did a tremendous work for me mentally, also to be able to show up for others. I think during that 30 days that some people thought that I was falling apart. You know what I mean? I know a couple of times, y'all were like, you just going home. I was like, yeah, I'm just I'm going home and chill and watch a show. But the peace, that the peace of the Lord, really casting your cares, that's where I really learned, I'm going to take this, drop it off. The peace it was unexplainable. It shouldn't have been that peaceful by man's eye. But it was peaceful. So I do want to also encourage you, or those of you who are having mental health challenges, to, as he said with the scripture, to lean and really trust and rest. Find your rest in that space. Yeah, because that was good.
Tell me something. So you freely talk about your mental health. What got you to the place of wanting or knowing that you needed to talk to a therapist, and that you got to the place where you didn't care what nobody else said, I need to do this? What got you to that place?
I wanted to be better.
What you mean by that?
I didn't want to show up in a space where I still felt like I had some things that they would come to light in different settings. And I would realize that the voice, let's say for example, so we had the class, and he
The
did it.
class,
He did
the
the exercise, the
class
mental
we
health
had with.
awareness
Yep.
class,
Okay.
and he did the exercise where you're talking to another person, but then there's another inner critic voice.
That was crazy.
Right. So the inner critic voice was showing up in different places, and I was ready to silence it. I was tired of anxiety having the microphone. I was tired of depression having the microphone. And I wanted to be transparent in places so I could help other people. You know, they knew I had survived a lot of different
Yeah.
things, but I wanted to truly be healed. So that's like the largest battle. You have to decide that either I'm going to do the work or I'm not. You're gonna choose your hard. You're gonna live with it and cover it up, or you're gonna do the work. And I decided like something needs to be done.
Yeah.
I also went through an exercise that I saw, and real quick, it was something like you close your eyes for a few moments, you go back to your childhood, and try to think of the first thought as a child. What was the first memory that you had as a child? Well, the memory that arose for me was not a good one.
Oh wow.
And I thought that I had this wonderful, but the one memory when I took my time and settled down and thought, I was like, wow, and realizing like it was something that witnessed,
Uh-huh.
and I thought to myself like, man, like I had forgotten all about it, but underlying it was there. So then I started thinking about different situations I went through in life, and like, man, like maybe that's why I thought the way that I did from that. And you don't even realize it's suppressed. So I tell you this: once you decide you want to do the work and you start doing it, and you really start getting to know yourself, it's the most exciting thing.
Yeah.
So you learn some tough things, but then as you want to know more about yourself, and then it causes you to be more comfortable in environments because you really get to know. Like I'm getting to know this whole new version of me. Like
Yeah.
my spouse is getting to know this whole new version of me. He's this whole new version of himself. So we like these two exciting people, you know. But I promise you, if you decide, you take the first steps that you want to step in, and you were a little leery about the therapist. I'm going to be tell you about my pastor brother friend too. So he wanted immediate, which I can say to you, I was like, if she come in here and she's not challenging me with questions or something that I can already answer on my own, then I'm not with it.
Yep.
My therapist had to be, you had to be an intellectual thinker to be my therapist. Give me a question that when I go home, I'm like, ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
Because if you can't get to the meat of it, like, I really can't rock with you. If I'm gonna end up being a
That's right.
therapist to you,
That's right.
not that I don't mind being the therapist to you, but I'm here for therapy. But once you start to do that work, as I said, it can be one of the most beautiful things. And therapy and spirituality is just like
They go
it's
hand
hand
in
to
hand.
hand.
Do me a favor, real quick. Can you take about 30 seconds and talk to the person, male, female, who in their mind know they have some struggles with their mental health and are afraid or are hesitant to making that start? Can you talk to them about 30 seconds on how to get the nerve up to take that first step that you were talking about?
Okay, so 30 seconds. So the first thing is really look at your life, examine where you are. Are you going through the same cycle? Is it the same cycle as last year? Are you really tired of being tired? Checking who's around you. Are you ready to grow? Like it's 2023 at this point in your life. Is it time to make a change? If you're there, and you want to make those decisions, the first thing that you can do, one of the quickest options that I know, betterhelp.com, boom, you can go there real quick, find your therapist, do a questionnaire. If it's suitable for you, you can
Say that
land that.
again. What is that again?
Betterhelp.com.
Okay.
They
Better
go on
help or health.
BetterHelp.
HELP.
Yep, HELP. They go on income because a lot of this is expense when you're trying to seek a therapist. But your very first step is acknowledging that you need help. The second step, once you start talking to the therapist, be open. That's the one person that you can be open with. Share everything that's on your heart and mind. And then begin to be unapologetic to those around you. Once you really start walking in your healing and decide that, do the work. I promise you it will be worth it. If you're scared now. Like you're home with the mental health issues now, you're scared now. You don't know when the next time you're gonna break around the kids. You don't know when the next time you're gonna break around your husband. You don't know when the next time you're gonna go off on somebody at the job. Like you're already scared. So talk to the voice and decide like enough is enough. Like I'm ready to learn to be better. I want to be better. And that's the first initial steps.
It sounds simple, but that's
It's
huge.
major.
That's really really huge to take those first steps. But I'll say now from experience, after you take the first steps, yeah, it works. And
Hmm.
thank you for sharing my transparent moment about me being critical, right,
Yeah.
of therapists, right?
Yeah.
Because again, that's what I do. I talk to people. I help people through their struggles. I help people through
Yeah,
all
so you
this
got to come right if you
life
come.
stuff. So you can't come and give me what I give everybody
Yeah,
else. I
yeah.
need, but the piece of giving them an opportunity, and the sister that I have now is helping me so much that I've shared her name
Yeah, that's what
with
I do. Don't hold on
I've
to it to
shared her
yourself.
name with
Share name.
so many different people already because if she could help me,
Then she definitely, yeah,
then I know she could help some other folks.
absolutely.
So yeah, so the idea for those of us who understand it, um, don't get to the place of you embarrassed. I thank God for that now because I can stand in the pulpit now and share it.
Hmm.
So for that stat that says 65% of churchgoers want to hear from the church,
We could do that.
yeah,
Yeah.
that has to happen now. You know what I mean? And I want to have an opportunity where I let pastors know because that's just who I am. That it's cool. It's okay. Because I looked also through the scriptures. There's no. I haven't seen any specific scriptures that say, "Hey, this is mental health."
Hmm.
Like it paints it out that way. But I look in the Bible and I see different people in the Bible who struggled with it.
Hmm.
Elijah, who we love, we talk about all the time. At one point through the scriptures, he was like, "God, please take this life away from me."
Hmm.
Like he wanted to end his life. This is Elijah talking.
Hmm.
Matthew, at a point, Matthew was struggling with life and was saying the same thing. God, it's just too much on me. My life is too much. This anxiety that I'm dealing with
Hmm.
is too much. And he went to God. I mean, there's so many different characters in the Bible that struggle with mental health, and we just never characterize it
Yeah.
as a mental health challenge. And it's real. It
Hmm.
is real. And every one of them went to the Bible or God sent them somebody in their circle
Ram in
to
the
help them
bush.
go through.
Yeah.
So it's all throughout the Bible. So yeah, so this mental health piece, y'all, is serious. And we just thought it necessary to just share this because as Mika G said in the beginning, it's kind of taboo for especially the African American community, but even more the church community
Absolutely.
because we're supposed to just pray about it,
And take your burdens to Jesus.
leave
Leave
it
them all there.
there, pray. The Bible says some things only come by fasting and prayer,
Hmm.
but God also has the ability to give us people who He's equipped with the ability to help us get through certain situations. And it's time for us to accept those people, those gifts that God gave to people.
Yep. And it's time for us to
That's a
start being
gift.
open to having these conversations. So
Yes.
we're getting into the beginning of opening spaces and rooms. And of course, those of you who are watching the podcast, if you want to reach out to Pastor Brother Friend or reach out to someone here at Victor myself, we wouldn't mind. We would love to speak to you too. But you're not alone. And then we have to realize too, there are some of them that are underlying hereditary issues and chemical imbalances where you may need medication to balance it out.
Yeah.
Don't feel like, oh Lord, I have to take this Xanax 3 times a
We
day.
taking it for diabetes and blood pressure
Absolutely.
and all this other stuff.
Absolutely. So you can take the same things to mellow out your mental health. It's like these are things that are going to help you show up in the best form and fashion that you need to. So take away the stigmas
Mhm.
and do what you need to do for you. It's your journey, your own mental health journey, and that's what it's about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it starts with those first steps that you mentioned.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'm excited. I'm happy for where I am. After going through this, I can handle saying my son's name now.
Good stuff.
There was a
Good
point in my
stuff.
life where just saying his name, just saying his name, y'all, would kind of get me all teary eyed. Just thinking about my dad would get me messed up. Just thinking about my mom would get me messed up.
Yeah.
And now I have some tools to help me through that process. And that's what I take on as therapy. Therapy is not the fix all.
Right.
It is not that. So for those of you who think you're going to therapy and it's going to fix everything, I think their job is to give us some tools
Absolutely.
to help us with working through the process. And please never forget going to God, constantly adding Him to your prayer life, taking your cares and your burden to Him. So when I face some things now, Mika, I know how. I know I got some tools to help me with it.
Right.
So you mentioned earlier some opportunities. You mentioned that website. Tell me that website again.
It is betterhelp.com.
BetterHelp.com. Also, through our training, there was a number that Javon Billups gave. He's a trainer for that training. He gave us a number for 988. And that 988 number, I think, was called a crisis hotline. Mm-hmm. So if you are struggling with some suicidal thoughts, if you're struggling with some anxiety,
Grief.
if you're struggling with grief, if you're struggling with
Depression.
suicidal thoughts, extra voices in your head, and you know this is not normal for you, simply reach out. It's really simple, 988. And just tell them. Tell them, hey, I'm thinking this, I'm feeling this, and they'll guide you and direct you into the right place. If you're not comfortable yet doing that, Mika G mentioned, this podcast is up there. If you own this on our social media site, inboxes. Send a message on the inbox of Pastor Mike with Pastor D on any one of our platforms. Inboxes and say, hey, I'm struggling. I need help with whatever it is.
And whatever it is.
Whatever. We'll do the same thing. We'll keep it confidential, and we'll reach out and we'll find some help for you. Doing it by yourself is not working. Mm-hmm. Doing it by yourself is not good. I share with you what that got, the place that got me in.
Good stuff.
And it was not good. It was not good for my family. I put my family through a lot of stress because they had no clue where I was, and it just wasn't good. But I learned now through the help that it could be easier. It could be done better. So if you're looking for the help, go to the website. Again, it's
betterhelp.com.
Or the 988 number. And there's other sites also. There's local companies you can call, but those two are quick and easy. And obviously, our message, our inbox. Yep. So, Mika G, thank you so much for today. Thank you for your transparency.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your wisdom and your knowledge on today, sharing with me and for our Pastor Mike with Pastor D audience. It has truly, truly been a blessing. I pray today that something was said today on this episode or something was done on this episode that really moved you, that even if you yourself are not struggling with mental health issues, maybe you've noticed it in your sister, your brother, your family member, your friend, your sister. Maybe you've noticed it in them, and you've seen some signs that maybe they could use some help. Come on, help them out. This episode was heavy today. I know it was heavy.
But much needed.
But I think it was needed, and I think it will take some, it was heavy in a sense, but yet it was load lifting as well, I believe, on some people. I know through the talks it was for me.
Yeah.
So any final word before we drop it?
That's it. I thank y'all for watching. And as he said, it could be heavy depending on your perspective. But we're hoping that you really take a listen. Listen to it a few times, especially if you're struggling, and reach out. We all need somebody.
Yep. So don't forget. I know we had the one title, but Mika G kind of had her own little title for this episode, and I think it was dope. But she says, mind your mental health. Mm-hmm. So we want to leave on that note. Don't forget, follow us on all the social media sites, but more importantly, mind your mental health. We love you. Thank you for tuning in to Pastor Mike or Pastor D.
Yes, thanks
See
for
you
watching.
next time.
Peace.